Hi everyone, welcome to Complex Engineer. Welcome to part 2 of our Monorepo series where we use pantsbuild or pants for short to build a monorepo. And today we're going to be talking about what pantsbuild is, how to install pants, and we'll start building our project. We'll set up a virtual environment, requirement.txt, and we'll also set up CRUD operations on our API. We'll build a fast API application, and we use SQLite. Eventually, we'll deploy this to a container or add CI/CD support to this. So let's go to the website while we talk about what pantsbuild is. So pantsbuild is a monorepo tool, like I said earlier. It supports multiple languages. You could use this monorepo tool to build your Python project, Go, Java, whatever language you want. And it knows what is dependent on what. It knows your entire dependency tree. And it only runs those code on what has changed and the transitive dependencies. And this is very fast because you're only running your test on what has changed. And also, it supports Python first class, so you can write your plugins in Python, which is really great compared to like a tool like Bazel where it uses Starlag, right? And it's kid friendly. It's really good, very easy to learn to use pantsbuild. So let's get into some documentation. So if you go into the documentation, you'll see what pantsbuild does for you. You can do caching, and that's how it knows what has changed. It can create your log files for your dependencies, so you're protected against supply chain attacks, because every dependency has a SHA, and then it just downloads creates a file for you containing the SHA. So every time you're downloading your SHA, you're always downloading the exact version, right? So you're protected from supply chain attacks. And there are lots of other benefits with this tool. And how does it work? You'll see that it has concurrency capability while you're running different functionalities. You run them in parallel. If you want to do linting, you can do your linting in parallel, which is great. Same thing with your cache. It has your cache, so it only runs tests on what has changed. You see, like this example, they run the test the first time, and then they change the file, and then they run the test again, and then it ran that test. So it's really good, good tool. Has dependency inference, so you don't have to manually write all your dependencies from an import statement. It knows all your dependencies. So let's install this and get the ball rolling. So first of all, you come to getting started here. The prerequisite here is mainly that you need one of these to be able to use pants. You need one of these to be able to use pants. And you also need Python to be able to use pants. So we use a Linux environment, or a Mac rather. I have a Mac, so we'll just jump into the install. And to install pants, installing pants is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is you can install this using brew. This will install to your local system. This will just install a wrapper that you can use. That wrapper will enable you to download any version of pants that you want. So say for instance you want to use version 2.0 on a specific project, it's going to download that version that you need. So you can also install it this way. But for simplicity, I kind of like to install it this way. And the reason is this will download the file and run the file. We can download this file within our system, and then in our CI will just run this file to be able to get pants. So we don't have to always hit this endpoint. That's just for security reasons. If you read this, you'll see that that's what they advise. So I'll just copy this and then go back to my VS Code. paste. But I'll do a simple trick here. I'll just write this to a file. Get pants.sh. So now I'll write this to a file, so I can then use this file to install pants. So you see the file here. So the next thing that we need to do is to install pants. So say bash get pantssh. And this is done installing. Good. Okay, so we've downloaded pants. And the next thing now is we've also installed pants. So we'll say done, and then we'll say done. So we downloaded pants, we've installed pants. Good. The next thing we need to do is we need to set up pants so that it knows what we need, right? What language we're working with, and just in general what we need. So I'll come here and then I'll create a folder called pants.toml. This will tell pants all the pants needs to know to be able to run our project. So first things first is I need to specify the version of pants I want this repo to use. So I'll say global So I'll say global, and then when I say global, that's good. Then I specify the pants version. So I can say pants version, and then I specify the version of pants to use. 2.2.2.21.0. As of the recording of this video, this is the most recent version of pants. So now every time we run pants, pants knows to use this version within our project. Next thing we need to set up is we need to tell pants the plugins that we want to bring in, right? Pants has this idea of backend packages. Backend packages are just plugins that you want to bring into pants, so pants can run your project. So for instance, you need a Java support, you will bring in a Java backend, right? Backend package, which is just a plugin within pants. If you need linting that is relating to Python, you will bring in the package that is relating to Python. So we need to specify that. So say backend packages is equal to specify the packages that we need. Say pants.backend. Oh shoot, I can't type. Not Python. So we need this mainly to be able to run Python. This is the basic that we need to run Python. Pants.backend.python. And if we go to the documentation, you will also see this written in the documentation. So let's go to the documentation as I show this. So if you come to this place, you'll see that we did this later we'll do this so that pants knows where our root of our Python project is. So we'll do that later. And then this is just what we set up. As of now, this is all we need to be able to use Python within our repo. Okay, so the next thing now is let's go back to VS Code. Okay, good. Now we have pants all ready to go. So let's set up a virtual environment, and let's also create a folder structure. So set up a virtual environment. The virtual environment is just for us to be able to develop. Virtual environment in Python is just, think of it as an isolated box that contains all your third-party dependencies, right? This is very good because you don't have to deal with conflicts from version to version. So you just create a virtual environment, and then from there you can install everything you want inside a virtual environment. So let's go ahead and create a Python virtual environment. So before we create a virtual environment, we need, in my local system, I use PyEnv. PyEnv enables me manage different versions of Python within my system. And it's very good if you want to have multiple versions of Python within your project, within your system. You can use PyEnv. If you don't have PyEnv installed, this is great. All you need to do is just install Python and you're good to go. If you do have PyEnv installed, then you can follow the step. If you don't, you can skip this step. So the first thing I need to do is specify the version of Python for this project. This is just for PyEnv to know what version of Python to initialize for this project. So I'll say this, and then I'll specify the version of Python. Let's just say I want to use 3.10. So now this is set up to use 3.10. This is just for PyEnv. If you don't have PyEnv installed, you can totally skip this step. So now let's set up our virtual environment. So .venv is the name of the folder. It's going to create the virtual environment. venv is the package -m just says this is a module want to run. And the reason for the dot here is just to signify that this is not going to be pushed to the Git repo. Good. So now I have my virtual environment created here. So the next thing now I need to do is activate this virtual environment. So we'll say source.venv, and then we'll say bin, and then we'll say activate. On Windows, it's slightly different. On Windows, you would just need to call .venv script and /activate, and then you activate it. On Mac, it's slightly different. On Mac, you say source, and then you call activate. Windows.venv /script /activate. Good. So we have this activated now. This is great. We have a virtual environment activated. So the next thing we need to do is we need to install Fast API. So we'll say pip install Fast API. Great. So this has installed Fast API for us. So now we have Fast API installed locally. Okay. So we have this done. So now we can create a requirement.txt based on this Fast API we have installed. The requirement.txt will contain all your dependencies, just a file that you will list all your dependencies in, and this will help other developers when they pull down your repo, they know what version of dependencies you're working with. It's just much easier because you can go to one single file and see all your third-party dependencies. So let's create that requirement.txt. So I'll clear this. So we'll say pip freeze, and then we'll write that to a file. So if we come here, we'll see all the dependencies and their versions. This is great. The next step we need is we need to put all our third-party dependencies into a folder, because you need to remember that this monorepo may contain multiple languages, right? It could contain Java, it could contain Python, it could contain Go, just any language. So let's create a structure that will accommodate for multiple languages. So first things first is let's create where we'll store all our third-party dependencies. So I'll say third-party, and then all our third-party dependencies will be stored here. So if we have a Gradle file or a Maven file for Java, it will be stored here. If we have a package.json, it will be stored here. And The good thing about that is if there's a security breach or a security vulnerability on any of the plugins, you go to one single place, you update that. Provided you have tests in place, you can easily update that and you're good to go. So let's create a folder for Python. So we'll say third-party Python, and let's put our requirement.txt into that. So I'll just drag this. Good. So that's good. So now we have our third-party dependencies inside here, which is great. So let's create a folder structure for our project. Remember that we want to create a task API and with a few endpoints. So I'll create a folder structure for this. So I'll create this. Pants doesn't restrict you to the kind of folder you want to create, right? I just like to follow specific standards. So I'll say Python, and inside this Python, then I can create my project. So I'll say task. I'll just call this task API for simplicity. So this is where all my source files relating to task API would live. So let's create the files that we need. So first of all, we need a database.py. This is where we'll throw all our database in, database connection to our database connection to SQLite. Also, we'll need a main.py. This will contain our entry points to our application. Then we need a model.py. This will just contain all our classes that we need, our data structure that we need to be able to create and communicate with our database. And then we'll create our routers. Our router is just endpoints. This is where all our endpoints, HTTP endpoints, will live. And I think that's pretty much all we need at this point. We can create a service. So the service will contain any business logic that we want. Usually this is the high-level structure that you use in enterprise development. Most times structured by folders, but we'll just keep this simple for now. If you've made it so far to this video, thank you. You're my hero. Thank you for watching. I'll continue in the next video. We'll fill all of this up and we'll start using pants even more so you see the capability of this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.